Wonder Woman stays strong while Transformers pleads with the international box office. I'm Danielle Radford, and this is Screen Junkies News. Transformers: The Last Night hit theaters this weekend and opened at #1, but proved to be the softest weekend opening in the franchise. And what about Wonder Woman, you ask? She seems to be doing just fine. The film is expected to domestically outperform both Suicide Squad and Batman v Superman in the coming days. Will Transformers perform better in the coming weeks, or will it have to depend on the international box office? Here to help me make sense of all of this is Victor Torres. Hello!
Hello!
Hello! So you have been so deep in all this box office stuff today.
Indeed.
What stands out in the box office for you?
There are a few things that stand out. First off, let's talk about Transformers. So this weekend, it pulled in $44 million, just over the weekend. But what we'll do is we'll include, it opened on June 21st, which is a Wednesday, so we'll include that total, which is $68 million. It was tracking to bring in $70 million, so it's falling below expectations, and that's domestically. However, internationally, it's bringing in $199 million, which brings the worldwide total to $267 million. So it is definitely falling below expectations, but of course, generally, the international box office is kind of picking up where we are falling behind domestically. One of the bigger surprises that I found is Cars 3 is now went from #1 in its first week to #2, with Wonder Woman maintaining the second spot, which is pretty awesome, especially since Wonder Woman's been in theaters now for 4 weeks straight.
Yeah.
And at this point, it's already set to surpass then, like you had mentioned, Batman versus Superman, v Superman, and Suicide Squad domestically within its time. So by this time, when Batman v Superman was out within its 4-week total, it was about $311 million, where Wonder Woman now, as we've seen, is $318 million. So that's really, really cool. Cars 3 is dropping 55.2%, which is pretty big. I mean, I think it'll still, I mean, it's a kid's movie. I don't know if this is a result of Transformers coming to theaters, that being then split up between Wonder Woman, but I'm not 100% sure, because you would think that a lot of parents would be afraid that those two movies would be a little scary for kids. 47 Meters Down is only bringing in $7 million, but it's also like a little over 1,000 less than the other films that are currently in theaters. And The Mummy Returns is going down another notch to the 5th place with a 58.2 drop. This necessarily isn't super surprising given kind of the feedback from it since it came out. And then All Eyes on Me is just completely out of the top 5.
No Eyes on Me.
No Eyes
Some
on Me.
Eyes on Me. Some Eyes on Me.
Yeah. I'll still see that Tupac movie.
I'm still totally gonna go see that Tupac movie. So this was the softest opening for a Transformers movie.
Yes.
Is this franchise fatigue? It's something we've been talking about a lot lately. Is this part of it?
It's hard to tell. Okay, so one of the biggest things about Transformers, how I look at it, is I'm always generally entertained by the Transformers movies, but I don't know that there is that much differentiation. And I don't know if many people feel the same way I do, but I kind of akin it to an amusement park ride. Like Transformers reminds me of like the Pirates of the Caribbean ride, where like every couple of years they'll like add a Jack Sparrow, or they'll like update it to something. So there is something there to latch onto. But after 5 films, it does feel a little like, okay, we're seeing the same tricks, we're seeing the same little bits here and there, even though they are growing in size. But if you look at the numbers alone, adjusted for inflation, of the 5 Transformers movies, Revenge of the Fallen was the one that opened in 2009 to $129 million. The next one down, Dark of the Moon, is $107 million. So from there, there's already a gap. And I think a lot of the reasons why Revenge of the Fallen played as high as it did is just that when Transformers came out in 2007, people were like, wow, this is a good movie. This is a fun movie.
Yeah.
It's
robots.
Yeah, I think it's
in disguise.
Yeah, it's robots and they talk, which is
and they fight other robots.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
And that one peed on Shia LaBeouf in it. Accidentally. It was incidental.
That's true.
But it's, you know, I think you kind of run into that with a franchise. Michael Bay has directed all of them. So I think the style and the tone has been the same, which for a lot of franchises I think is a good thing. If you look at like the Dark Knight trilogy, like it's awesome that it had that Christopher Nolan tone. This kind of plays a little bit differently just because we are kind of getting just action sequences where the story's a little bit looser. The robots almost in a sense take a back seat character-wise when we're focusing on the humans. So I don't know that there's been enough to differentiate each of these entries to get people excited. However, Having said that, I mean, 68 million is underwhelming, but it was only tracking to do 70 million. So
Right.
it almost seems like they were anticipating the international box office to kind of pick all this up.
Right. Well, and speaking of that, so Transformers 5 does seem to be another example this year of a movie that maybe doesn't do as well as people thought domestically, but then winds up relying on the international box office and doing bigger. Do you think that's the case, or do you think that this winds up having some legs?
It's hard to tell. I do think it's probably going to be the case, just because there's some examples from this year, and granted, these are all different stories, different genres, but one thing that kind of sticks out with all of them, including Transformers, so we have King Arthur, The Legend of the Sword. Domestically, that did 38 million. Internationally, 99 million. The Mummy, domestic, 68 million. Internationally, 273 million. Pirates of the Caribbean, domestically, 160 million. Internationally, 519 million. I think there's definitely a trend here of movies that may not play so well over here to audiences that are going to do better internationally. And I think a big part of that is that it's a lot easier to translate action overseas than it is to do something like comedy or drama. The cultures are so different. So in that regard, I don't know. I'm assuming, if I had to guess, judging by just the Transformers franchise, if I had to just assume or place a wild guess, I think it's going to make a decent chunk of money domestically. I don't think it's going to be this shameful, embarrassing number that they're going to land on that's going to make Michael Bay walk away from filmmaking. But I think the biggest chunk of money that they are going to get from this movie is definitely going to be internationally, which I think is generally the case with movies like this.
Okay, well, speaking of Michael Bay, the Bay, on a scale of 100% to 200% certainty, what are the chances that Michael Bay will return to direct another Transformers sequel?
200 million%.
Okay, well, let's say he doesn't come back then. What would you want to see him direct?
I want to see him direct anything else but a Transformers movie at this point. I think he has paid his dues to the franchise. He clearly loves it. He clearly cares about the franchise. He keeps coming back. He's designed these like beautiful robots, like down to a T. I do have a lot of respect for what he has brought to the franchise. I just think it's time that he just moves along. I think that honestly, I want to see him do something original again. Like I want to see like a Rock or a 13 Hours or even an Armageddon sequel. I would be like, all right, I'll check this out.
Well, and he has said that he was kind of done, right? He
has said, even this month, like he's said, you know, I believe it was like MTV News. He said, you know, I think I'm leaving. It's hard to say goodbye. It's been a fun run, but it's time to do other stuff. But he's said that in the past. Like it's been, I think, since like maybe the second or third movie, he's like, this is my last one. I'm telling you guys, I'm wiping my hands clean. It's time to push it along. Then come like the following year, he's like, you know what? I'm going to do this one more. I want to get this like little blue guy in there.
Look at
like,
how much he loves robots.
This like R2-D2 BB-8 thing. Like I want to.
Look at how much he loves it. Look at how happy he is.
That's his passion robot project right there. But yeah, I mean, I think like even Mark Wahlberg, for example, has been kind of like less certain about like Bay really committing to leaving. Like he's even gone as far as to say like, if he doesn't do it, I'm not doing it. And then later in the quote, he said like, the one thing I will say is that he said it was his last one a number of films ago. He's so passionate about it. It's his brainchild. He may come back. And I think that really speaks to Mark Wahlberg as an inventor, as a physicist. No, but I think it really speaks to, you know, Michael Bay's passion for Transformers. I'm just ready to see him do something different. I'm ready to see him go on to different waters and show us something else cool that'll blow up.
Oh, heck yeah. Yeah, more blowing up.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming in, breaking down all of this box office for us, and telling us what you think. But now we want to hear what you think. Are you ready for Michael Bay to move on? Do you think he's going to come back? And if he does move on, what kind of movie would you like to see him direct next? Let us know in the comments below, and remember, be nice to each other. Thanks for watching. Please click here for more internets. Tweet us at SJ News, and make sure to subscribe to SJ News. Bye!